November 17th, 1934, 3:47 a.m., San Francisco Bay. Harold Strickland watches a 32-ton Caterpillar Diesel 60 disappear beneath black water. The machine tilts forward off the barge deck, treads still turning, diesel smoke mixing with salt spray. Then it's gone. Depth, 41 feet. The silence afterward is total except for the lap of waves against the barge hull and the distant foghorn from Alcatraz Island, 600 yards northeast. Strickland is the chief engineer for the Federal Bureau of Prisons construction project. He's 43 years old, balding, wearing a wool peacoat that doesn't stop the cold. He's been awake for 19 hours. The bulldozer that just went down represents $17,000 of government equipment. More importantly, it represents 3 weeks of delayed construction on the most expensive prison renovation in American history. The military prison on Alcatraz is being converted into a maximum security federal penitentiary. Everything is behind schedule, everything is over budget, and now a bulldozer is at the bottom of the bay. The accident happened during night operations. The barge crew was transferring equipment from the mainland dock at Fort Mason to the island. Standard procedure: load the bulldozer, secure it with chains, make the crossing, unload at the Alcatraz dock. But the bay was running a strong ebb tide. 4-knot current pushing west toward the Golden Gate. The barge captain misjudged his approach angle. The barge swung hard to port. The chains snapped. The bulldozer, all 16 tons of it plus another 16 tons of blade and rigging, rolled across the deck and over the side. One man went with it. Frank Chen, 28 years old, equipment operator out of Oakland. He was standing on the running board checking the fuel gauge when the machine shifted. He grabbed for the steering wheel, missed, fell backward into the water as the bulldozer tipped. The crew pulled him out 30 seconds later. Hypothermia protocol: strip him down, wrap him in blankets, get coffee in him. He's alive. Shaking, but alive. The bulldozer is not coming up as easily. The Caterpillar Diesel 60 is the workhorse of Depression-era construction. 14 feet long, 7 feet wide, 9 feet tall with the cab. Powered by a 4-cylinder diesel engine producing 75 horsepower at 1,200 RPM. Top speed 4 miles per hour. The machine was built in Peoria, Illinois, shipped by rail to Oakland, ferried to Alcatraz 3 weeks ago. It's been grading the new exercise yard, moving rubble from demolished structures, smoothing the foundation for the cell house expansion. Now it's 41 feet down in 40-degree water, settling into mud. If you want to see how they got it back, please hit that like button. It helps us share more forgotten stories. Subscribe if you haven't already. Back to the bay. Strickland has 3 options. Option 1, leave it. Write off the machine, requisition a replacement, absorb the delay. Option 2, hire a salvage company. Expensive, time-consuming, no guarantee of success. Option 3, recover it himself using prison labor and whatever equipment he can improvise. The Bureau of Prisons does not look kindly on cost overruns. Alcatraz is already 12% over budget. Strickland chooses option 3. By dawn, he's assembled a crew. 8 prisoners from the military prison's work detail. These are men convicted of lesser federal offenses, mostly bootlegging and prohibition violations. They're housed in minimum security barracks, allowed to work outside under guard supervision. Strickland also brings in 2 Navy divers from Mare Island Naval Shipyard, 23 miles north. Master diver Robert J. Phillips and his tender seaman first class Timothy O'Malley. Phillips is 36, lean, with the slow, deliberate movements of a man who spent years breathing compressed air. He's worked salvage operations in Pearl Harbor, recovered aircraft wreckage off San Diego, cleared debris from the Yangtze River in China. He's never recovered a bulldozer from San Francisco Bay. The plan is straightforward in concept, complicated in execution. First, locate the machine. The bay bottom here is uneven. Rock outcroppings, trenches carved by current, layers of silt deposited over centuries. Visibility underwater is measured in inches, not feet. The water is turbid with sediment, plankton, industrial runoff from the city. Phillips will descend with a lead line and sweep the area until he finds the bulldozer. Then they'll rig lifting cables and haul it up using the barge's steam winch. Phillips goes down at 9:15 a.m. He's wearing a Mark V deep-sea diving dress, heavy canvas suit, copper helmet, lead-soled boots weighing 35 pounds each. His air comes through a hose connected to a hand-cranked pump on the barge deck. O'Malley manages the hose in the communication line, a series of pulls and tugs that form a simple code. 1 pull, okay. 2 pulls, send down more slack. 3 pulls, take up slack. 4 pulls, coming up. 5 pulls, emergency. The descent takes 6 minutes. Phillips feels his way down the anchor line in near total darkness. The visibility is less than 6 inches. He sweeps the bottom in a grid pattern moving in 10-foot arcs, using his hands to feel through the mud. 20 minutes pass. 30. At 42 minutes, his glove touches metal. Steel tread, cold and solid. He's found it. The bulldozer is lying on its left side, partially buried in silt. The blade is jammed into a rock outcropping. The engine compartment is flooded. Phillips runs his hands over the machine, building a mental map through touch alone. The cab is intact. The steering wheel is turned hard right. The treads are still. He finds the lift points on the frame, reinforced sections designed to handle the machine's weight during transport. These are where they'll attach the cables. Phillips surfaces at 11:03 a.m. Total bottom time, 1 hour 48 minutes. He describes what he found to Strickland. They'll need 4 cables, each rated for at least 10 tons. They'll need to clear the silt from around the machine before they lift, or the suction will hold it down. They'll need to time the lift with high tide when the water depth is 52 feet instead of 41, giving them more lift range before the bulldozer breaks the surface. The work begins the next day. Phillips makes 4 more dives over the next 36 hours, each one lasting between 90 minutes and 2 hours. He attaches steel cables to the bulldozer's frame. He uses a water jet, a high-pressure hose powered by a pump on the barge, to blast away silt. The jet creates clouds of sediment that reduce visibility even further, but it's the only way to free the machine from the mud's grip. Between dives, Phillips sits on the barge deck, still in his diving suit, breathing hard, drinking coffee laced with whiskey to ward off the cold. The prisoners work the winch and manage the cables. They're supervised by 2 guards carrying Winchester Model 12 shotguns. The relationship between the guards and the prisoners is cordial but distant. The prisoners are here because it's better than sitting in a cell. The guards are here because someone has to watch them. Strickland is here because this is his mess and he's going to fix it. November 20th, high tide at 2:34 p.m. The barge is positioned directly over the bulldozer. 4 cables run from the winch through sheave blocks down to the machine. Phillips has made his final dive to verify the rigging. Everything is secure. Strickland gives the signal. The winch operator engages the steam engine. The cables go taut. At first, nothing happens. The bulldozer doesn't move. The cables stretch and creak under load, but the machine stays where it is. Strickland orders more power. The winch operator opens the throttle. The steam pressure gauge climbs. 100 psi, 120, 140. The cables vibrate. Somewhere below, the bulldozer shifts. Phillips, watching from the deck, sees the water surface begin to roil. Air bubbles, mud, debris. The cables are lifting, but slowly. 6 inches per minute, then a foot per minute. The bulldozer is coming up, but it's not coming up clean. The blade is still caught on the rock outcropping. If the blade breaks free suddenly, the machine will swing like a pendulum. If the cables snap, the bulldozer goes back down and they start over. If the barge tips, and at this weight, tipping is possible. Everyone ends up in the water. The lift takes 43 minutes. At 3:17 p.m., the top of the bulldozer's cab breaks the surface. Water pours from the engine compartment. Seaweed hangs from the treads. The machine is coated in black mud and smells like low tide at a fish market. But it's up. The winch operator swings the boom, positioning the bulldozer over the barge deck. The cables lower. The treads touch wood. The machine settles with a sound like a groan. Frank Chen, the operator who went into the water with the bulldozer 6 days ago, is the first to climb aboard. His hands are still bandaged from rope burns he got during the fall. He climbs into the cab, sits in the driver's seat, puts his hands on the steering wheel. The wheel is crusted with salt. The floorboards are covered in silt. The instrument panel is a mess of corroded metal and shattered glass, but the frame is intact. The treads are intact. The engine might be salvageable. Over the next week, a team of mechanics from the Caterpillar dealership in Oakland disassemble the bulldozer on the Alcatraz dock. They drain the water, flush the fuel system, replace the pistons, clean the injectors, rebuild the carburetor. The electrical system is destroyed and has to be replaced entirely. The hydraulic lines are compromised, the seat cushion is ruined, but the engine block is solid, the transmission is solid, the final drive is solid. Total repair cost, $4,000. Still cheaper than a new machine. On December 3rd, 17 days after it went into the bay, the Caterpillar Diesel 60 starts up. The engine coughs, backfires, belches black smoke, then settles into a steady diesel rumble. Frank Chen is at the controls. He engages the clutch, releases the brake, and the bulldozer rolls forward under its own power. The prisoners cheer. The guards don't, but they nod. Strickland watches from the dock, hands in his pockets, face expressionless. Later that day, he writes a report to the Bureau of Prisons. Subject, equipment loss and recovery, Alcatraz construction project. Cause, operator error and inadequate securing procedures. Outcome, equipment recovered and returned to service. Cost, negligible compared to replacement. Lesson learned, double-check the damn chains. The bulldozer continues working on Alcatraz for another 8 months. It grades the recreation yard, moves soil for the new guard tower foundations, clears debris from the demolished Citadel building. In August 1935, when the prison officially opens as a federal penitentiary, the machine is still there, parked near the powerhouse, ready for the next job. It will remain in service until 1941, when it's retired and sold as surplus to a construction company in Sacramento. The company uses it to grade farmland in the Central Valley. The machine finally dies in 1948, 14 years after its unplanned dive into the bay. Robert Phillips continues diving for the Navy until 1942, when he's promoted to Master Chief and transferred to submarine rescue operations. He survives the war, retires in 1949, and dies in 1967 in San Diego at age 69. Frank Chen works on Alcatraz until the construction project ends in 1935. He returns to Oakland, opens a machine repair shop, and never talks about the time he rode a bulldozer into the bay. He dies in 1982. Harold Strickland remains with the Bureau of Prisons, supervising construction projects at federal facilities across the West. He retires in 1952 and dies in 1961 in San Francisco. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary operates from 1934 to 1963. It houses some of America's most notorious criminals: Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, Robert Stroud, Alvin Karpis. The prison closes in 1963 due to high operating costs and deteriorating infrastructure. The island becomes a national park in 1972. Today, more than 1 million people visit Alcatraz every year. They tour the cell house, walk the exercise yard, stand in the cells where America's most dangerous criminals once lived. They don't think about the bulldozer that spent 6 days underwater, or the men who brought it back, or the hundreds of other small dramas that played out during the island's construction. History remembers the famous prisoners. It forgets the machinery. But the story is there, buried in Bureau of Prisons maintenance logs, in Navy diving records, in the personal papers of engineers and operators who are now long dead. A 32-ton Caterpillar Diesel 60 went into the bay one cold November morning. A week later, it came back. Not because it was easy, because there was work to do and someone had to do it. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us preserve these histories. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from.